And we're back. This is the Community Radio Show on WLEE News Talk 990. You're here, Bukhari, Sirraj, and Muhammad Hadi. We want to thank Fatima for coming on in that last segment of the show and giving us some feedback. We have to push early voting, get out the vote, because you never know what's going to happen in the next couple of days. And you may not be able to get to the polls, or you may have some problems at the polls. So if you can vote early, then vote early and get your vote in.
And don't think that, you know what, it's only one vote. But if 100 people all thought that, that's 100 votes. If 1,000 people all thought that, that'd be 1,000 votes.
Like we said by the stats, man, Florida basically came down to a couple hundred votes. And we know that Florida swung the election, you know. So hey, a couple hundred people decided we got Bush for 8 years. All right, coming back, we want to address the last
Jeffrey,
caller.
Thanks for listening, Jeffrey, and calling in. And I would have to respectfully disagree that I don't think that looking at a politician's religion is accurate, because you know, there's the religious text. Everyone has a religious text of what it says, and there's the execution of that, of what people do, and that's not. I don't think that's you can make judgments like that. That it would be similar to saying that, you Muslims are talking about voting and inclusion, and so forth and so on. But look at how exclusionary you are towards your women. That's not an accurate statement. It is true that at some point in time in the Mormon doctrine, there was some prohibition against blacks in the church.
We're about to get like 50 calls. Watch.
Whether that's true or not, we're trying to look it up. But I mean, I don't know. I think what you have to look at is I understand your point that you have to look at what he believes, and that's how he's going to. That's what's going to dictate. Thank you. Dictate his policies. My argument is you don't have to look at his religion. Just look at the people that he's surrounding himself with.
Okay. I got to disagree with you on that. I got to agree with the caller to an extent, because bottom line is, okay, let's say we put somebody in there that's Muslim, right? People are gonna scrutinize their religion and say, well, they believe this, this, and that. And the thing is, okay, but
do we want to practice in that same kind of illogic?
No. What illogic?
Illogic of looking at say, hey, look, the dude's Muslim, so let's.
No, that's not illogical, because my thing is, and like I said this before, even with dealing with this show, there's a lot of issues and topics that we cover, but we're looking at it from an Islamic, viewpoint, and sometimes, even our views may vary or waver slightly. Right. You know what I mean? But that still goes to show that if I was in a presidential position, let's say, that'll probably never happen, or you were in a presidential position, there's still going to be that religious influence, because that is still part of the grounding, part of the foundation of your life and your character and how you've developed yourself over the years, what you've accepted, the things that you've learned, that all kind of comes in to create that, that overall, I guess, mental, flow for how you would do things and process things. So looking at Romney is not like, okay, well, if say at some point the church may have had, a discretion against blacks. Now, we can't say that, well, just because Romney's Mormon, that's going to happen. But we also can't say, well, just because it's not so prevalent in the Mormon church anymore, that Romney has necessarily abandoned some of those thoughts. Now, you may not know that the question is, okay, is that possibly still there going to be an issue? Do we see other, what's the word? Indications of maybe that type of thinking, and then you do have to be a little bit more, observative in terms of what the candidate is saying and what he's pushing. And I mean, the same thing for the people that surround him. I mean, I think that still does have, a impact in terms of the people that are around him. What are their religious beliefs? Because I mean, for some people, religion is not really that important, and for other people, it is. And especially with the Republicans, they weigh on religion a lot. That's, in their conservative views, that's there, so you got to kind of, look at, okay, well, what do those views, those conservative, even evangelical views sometimes consist of, but now with case of Romney, he's a Mormon. So what do Mormonism, what does that consist of? What is,
so you're
what's
saying
been fed to us?
How does Romney's Mormonism Romney's Mormonism influence his politics?
Right. Because, I mean, bottom line is, I mean, if somebody believes something and you're in a position of power, you're not going to go against your beliefs. Right. You're in that position where you can say, okay, I'm in a position of power. If I'm believing something because I think it's good for the people or good for myself, well, then maybe I want, maybe not push it or force it, but maybe I want to promote certain ideas and maybe I want to work it into certain agendas. Right. So I think that's very legitimate.
All right. You're wrong. That's
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in, Jeffrey, and all our callers. I want to thank Fatima Ashraf from All Hands on Deck. Please make sure you vote early, and also I want to thank our sponsor for this hour, Kebab Bistro, 7801 West Broad Street. Their number is 672-3663. They have a buffet all weekend. Go out there and have some really good food.
Yep.
You're listening to the Community Radio Show.
Go find me a goat, my lamb.
Go to Community Radio Show, WLEE News Talk 990, and keep up with us during the week, and you can find out with the saga of Bukhari's goat. Have a great week.
Be safe. Peace.